So there's a chance that Trent Williams might be not with the San Francisco 49ers within a week or two. He's got a $39 million cap figure. They're at an impasse on negotiations, and the prospects of him being traded or potentially hitting free agency are out there. It's floating around. I love Trent Williams. You guys know I love Trent Williams. I want to give you a little dose of Trent Williams and just exactly how good he still is as a football player. I just pulled some outside outside runs from the 49ers this year. Didn't do any passes, didn't do any screens where he's immaculate or anything, but just this is Trent Williams at the age of 37, getting downfield, still just wrecking shop and getting after it in a way that really we haven't seen Texans offensive tackles over these last few years do. As much as Laramie Tunsil is awesome in pass protection, he never showed the kind of viciousness, the kind of tenacity, the kind of nastiness as a run blocker. And we know this is an offense and Nick Caley and the offensive coordinator who really want to just get after it physically. Trent Williams still plays that same way. He's been one of the best offensive tackles in the league for still the last 4 or 5 years while he's been at an advanced age. There really hasn't been a drop-off in his play. So the player on the field is everything that I would want. What kind of draft compensation would you give him for a trade? What is that worth to the team? What does it do for Ariante Ursary or mean for Ariante Ursary? There's a whole lot to discuss right there. But really, some of it with Trent Williams, it's also just about the effect that he could have on the culture of that offensive line. And before we get into all the specifics about a potential trade or anything, or whether the Texans should wait for him to hit free agency potentially, this did it for me. This is Trent Williams on the Pivot podcast. And I like this above and beyond just the play on the field. The level of giving a shit that this guy has is awesome. He was asked whether he would rather lose a Super Bowl or never go to a Super Bowl at all. If you can't win a Super Bowl, would you rather just never go at all instead of experiencing the pain of a loss of a Super Bowl?
Hey, it's funny you said that. I tell people all the time, I'd rather not go than to go and lose, because the pain of losing, that lasts for months. That lasts for months. I was under a rock for 3-4 months, like literally. I didn't even want to be seen in public. I didn't want to see no Instagram posts. I didn't want to see no Twitter. I actually found peace because I got off of all social media. My phone was as dead as it's ever been, and just, I was able to heal properly. It was surreal. Like, I didn't even realize it was over. I seen the touchdown, and I'm thinking like, damn, it couldn't have ended just like that. And then I don't lie, I see Andy Reid running on the field. I said, oh, it's over with. Mm-hmm. And I literally, bro, I took my helmet off, and I threw it as far in the air as I could possibly throw it. So I probably threw it like 50 feet in the air. And then I dawned on me, oh, that can kill somebody. So I'm literally like trying to catch my helmet. And then I went in and I'm like, yeah, this was it was the worst pain ever.
Yeah, gives a damn, but also care for his teammates and human beings in general. Could have killed a poor photographer or something. I'll get to this in a second, but it's a valid point, Eric. It's Ursary wouldn't thrive at right tackle. I think we need an elite center and a good veteran left guard. I agree with you. I think they need a good veteran left guard and an elite center and an elite right guard and an elite offensive tackle. And I want all these things. I'm being very, very selfish right now. We'll get to the Ursary part and him playing right tackle in a second. But as far as that clip goes right there, like, okay, what do fans always want? What do you hate the most? Even when you're trying to, not be a grumpy old person, I'm cool with the kids, trading jerseys after a loss and everything. And hey, they might be smiling and high-fiving everybody, but they're sad on the inside. This man went into a depression for months because he lost the Super Bowl. Like, he gives a damn. And I know that seems like a low bar, but when your veterans in the building are also your best players who really, really give a damn, that sounds like? It sounds like Will Anderson. And I think one thing D'Amico's done an incredible job of with this team is steadily finding the right kinds of guys. Some of these young guys are just everything I would ever want my son to be when he's playing football. The way Kamari Lassiter plays, the way Will Anderson plays, the way Jalen Petrie. If I had a son who was playing football, I would just tell them, you see the way those guys operate? That's the way you conduct yourself in football and in life. Like, that's how passionate I am about the way those guys play football. They don't have as many of those guys on the offensive side of the ball. And if there was one thing, going back to when C.J. Stroud told a little story on the Pivot podcast about how Laramie Tunsil is a vet, not doing anything extra, nothing. You got to remember, this is when Laramie Tunsil was still not an old player. Like, Laramie Tunsil's been operating that way since the way he was when he was in his 20s. That's something that's reserved typically for guys who are in their 30s, have actually gone through a few ACL surgeries and everything. And yeah, they get the right to just not necessarily do as much. It's a bad situation when the template on the offensive side of the ball is that, a vet is a guy that doesn't actually do anything extra or anything that he's not supposed to do. It's it's pernicious. It's a bad situation. So to have guys who are A, awesome football players, but B, have a really high give a damn ratio. I love that clip by Trent Williams there. Keep wanting to say Trent Brown. I think Trent Brown's a guy who gives a damn. He talked multiple times this year about how he wasn't happy with the way the offensive line was playing and how they need to get better than that. Cole Popovich said the same thing on Texans radio. And I think that Trent Williams would be an awesome addition. Here's where it gets hairy. As far as Ursary goes, yes, you'd have to move Ursary to right tackle. Ursary worked at right tackle in training camp. I know he was in week 1 he was playing right tackle. It didn't go so hot. I think he can do it. I think I don't worry necessarily about, is it going to hamper his long-term development as a left tackle. Right tackles are just as valuable or almost as valuable as left tackles these days. And I think he's perfectly athletic enough and capable of doing it. It's not always as simple as it seems. The compensation is going to be the tricky part. And the fan in me says, hell yeah, do whatever it takes to get Trent Williams. They're going to have to whoever trades for Trent Williams is also going to give him a new contract. So it's a double whammy. You're going to trade a draft pick, but then also you're going to have to give him a new contract. I've seen a second rounder floated out there, and that just feels rich for me, given that I think the Texans would end up giving him a 2 or 3 year deal with huge guarantees. I think it would look a lot like the Danielle Hunter deal. So is Trent Williams in the mood for signing something like Danielle Hunter, where it's really high money, it's virtually all guaranteed, and that gives him that the appeal for an older guy when you get towards the end of your career, and Danielle's not there, but the appeal for any guy, but especially older guys, is, all right, if I sign a 3 or a 4 year deal, am I so sure that I really want to be playing football 3 years from now? And if I retire, am I going to have to give back some of the signing bonus money or something like that? The fully guaranteed shorter term deal seems like a more manageable chunk. That might appeal to him. The other thing, if Trent Williams is consulted in any kind of trade discussions, is that he lives in Missouri City, or at least he did the last time that I was trying to trade for Trent Williams. Remember when Trent Williams was getting out of Washington? The damn freaking Washington was acting like Trent Williams was the bad guy because he had a cancerous tumor on his head and he was concerned about it. That's how messed up Dan Snyder was. But I digress. I wanted to trade for him back then. I made public appeals to him, knowing that he lived in Missouri City, that maybe somebody or himself would hear it on the radio and come to Houston. But if he has any say in the matter and teams are, vying for him, just the hometown, I don't want to call it a discount. I don't think it'll be much of a discount. He's a very savvy negotiator. That might be something, though, that tips the scales in the favor of the Texans. Let's see. Why wouldn't he be cheap? He can just blame everything on CJ. I feel like that's part of another discussion that you guys are doing. Yeah, we don't need to give up any premium draft picks for Trent Williams. Just wait until they cut him. That's. Thank you for saying that, Sid. I think that's, if I'm trying to, judge what Caserio is going to do or how he would typically operate, I think this is a situation where the 49ers they're stuck between a rock and a hard place on this one. They'd love to trade him away if they can, but it's going to have to be with Trent Williams basically approving wherever he's going. That can get dicey in terms of timing. It's probably a better chance than not that they just end up releasing him and they're unable to figure out a trade, or somebody comes in with just an offer that's way too high for a guy who's going to be 38 years old. I think that might be the most reasonable route. And one more about a premium offensive lineman here. Do you guys think we get Linderbaum? This would be the one. This would be the if they're going after Linderbaum, they can't also go after Trent Williams. Not saying I wouldn't love it. It would be irresponsible. It would be way too aggressive, and yet the fan in me says, Frick yeah. Yeah, do that crap. I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to, ideally, in a perfect world, I'd get Linderbaum. The one block to that is that Linderbaum, he'd be awesome. I think he'd be a great addition. If he's going to get $21 or $22 million a year, you can get some good interior offensive linemen for between $10 and $15 million a year. Or you can get some of the older guys on short-term deals for less than $10 million a year. So if I had to maybe get a good the center from Buffalo, whose name escapes me right now, and one of the better guards, and they're averaging, a total of, they average between the two of them $12 or $13 million, that makes more sense. And I think some of this just boils down to how does the free agency market play out, and we'll find out. So thanks for indulging me on my Trent Williams fantasy. I'd give it about I think a 12% chance of happening. When Montgomery first got mentioned as he might be seeking a trade or wanting to get traded out of there, I did think immediately, man, that's exactly the kind of guy the Texans would like. That makes sense for the Texans. We've been saying, hey, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs was the template for Joe Mixon and Woody Marks, and you can just actually get one of the guys from the template that you were trying to use actually in the building. It made sense. This makes sense because of the D'Amico Ryans and whatever his relationship or knowledge of Trent Williams was, the fact that he's still a really good player. Let me pull up just by way of confirmation. Here are his PFF scores from this year. Trent Williams, 3rd overall at offensive tackles. He was 12th out of 89 tackles with his pass blocking grade, and 2nd out of 89 with his run blocking grade. The pass protection, as far as individual one-on-one, whatever, that's going to vary a little bit from year to year. When I went back through and I was watching some of his pass clips, immediately, wow, the guy's so freaking smart when it comes to picking up blitzes, doing extra in picking up blitzes, handing off games, all of that stuff. Just immaculate. He's everything that we haven't had on the Texans offensive line in these last few years.